Can we get our own Fething piece of work? No, we have one at home. The Fething piece of work at home. Hi, I'm ED-SKaR, and in many fictional settings, you might find characters that you can relate to. Characters you love, characters you wish were real. And sometimes you find a character you're glad isn't. This is Colonel Rawn, who isn't very nice to begin with, but there's another character who's far worse. One good thing I can say about this model is that it does capture the essence of a conniving so-and-so. Which is why a few people have converted Rawn into this other character, but it's also quite expensive, so I'll be making him out of the parts in my bits box instead. Who is this other character I'm alluding to? Lijah Fething Cuu. A character created due to a filing error and caused a great amount of grief ever since, making him probably the most 40k character ever. Lijah Cuu is so universally hated in the fandom that he has an unofficial nickname, Team Kill McBackstab Von Fething Bastard. You know, even though I'm only recording this for a skit, I still can't turn that page. So let's get stuck into a sinister looking model. And I want this to look good, not that Cuu deserves it, but I'll be using a pre-made cloak rather than sculpting my own. Specifically, this is a Victoria Miniatures Ranger torso. And to avoid using the dorky Cadian shoulder pads, I'll grab some of my last few Catagen pieces. But I will take one Cadian part in the form of this scarred face. It is a well-known part in the Gaunt Ghost community and always used for Fething Cuu. I've not shown my whole selection process, but I did spend some time picking out the right set of legs and the right arms to ensure that the final model does look the part. But I did want to do a little bit of conversion work. One important piece for any Gaunt Ghost model, and especially important for this one, is the 30cm straight silver war knife. I gave some minor shimming to this Catagen sword arm to give it the right angle, but obviously I needed to change the blade. And, you know, the blade I was drawn to is the very same blade I turned down in a previous video with my ghostly Gaunt Ghost. I just need to trim the sword to the correct length for the silver, reattach the Catagen sword's crossguard to the blade, and glue it in to the right side of the grip. A downward backstabbing grip. I also already adjusted the angle of the wrist, and the last touch is to add the pommel back to the top of the hand. And you know, I'm really happy with the look of this model. It's maybe not perfect, but I think I did capture the right feel of this villain. And now to paint the feather. I've shown how I paint my Tanith models over and over. I have a playlist of over 40 videos, nearly 50 I think now by the time this video goes up, so I won't go into too much detail here, but for those who haven't seen, briefly, each area gets a mix of two paints, dark and light green for the cloak, black and grey for the uniform, and dark and light browns for the leather. Each of these sections get a base coat of the darkest and then mixed highlights ranging from half and half up to just the brighter colour. The skin in particular got a lot of effort, ranging from that dark brown up into a pale Caucasian. As I use each colour, I put some speckles onto the cloak, slowly adding 4 or 5 different browns, greys, tans, matching the style of cloak that most of my Tanith army now has. And with the painting finished, the model is pretty much done, matching all of the steps of my other models. However, I felt some last detail was needed. I have this fancy dress fake blood, which somehow scales down pretty well to the 28mm hero scale. I haven't used blood effects on my Tanith so far. I like to keep the straight silver, well, silver, but Cuu, he gets the effect to separate him and to emphasise his terrible ways. So that's the model done, and I could end the video here saying that I'll use Cuu as a standard infantry lasgunner, but I have something a little better. Whilst I'm Helping with the Tanith First and Only Fan Codex, I created a little extra rule to help balance one important fact of the Tanith. There are so many characters in the books that players will want to use many of them, but 40k isn't really compatible with having 30, 40, 50 models with the character special rule. So instead I've written this whole page of unnecessarily complex rubbish about a new rule named Troopers, which essentially boils down to them being an upgrade for a unit rather than a standalone character. Cuu gets a 3+ to his weapon skill and ballistic skill to represent his combat prowess, as well as an extra attack and wound so that he doesn't immediately keel over, and a last carbine to justify the points cost. That would be the end of it, but just for some unnecessary flavour, at the end of the game he'll have a go at stabbing someone on the Tanith side. Most of the other named trooper characters are going to have a lot more interesting rules. Well, maybe, I hope, I don't know, I haven't written them yet. And there's a lot more work going into the fan codex before it's ready. But that's all I have, so let me know what you think of the model in the comments below, and feel free to share this video around to anyone who you think would be even remotely interested. Thank you very much for watching. I'm ED-SKaR, and I always will be.